Okay, we're live. Hey, everybody, I have to redo this. I'm sorry, I had to do this over. I was kind of blabbing a little bit, and just wanted to change the lighting and where I was. But anyway, we have three children, and we decided to homeschool our kids. We've been talking about this for a few years now. We've been praying about it deeply, and this has really been like one of probably the top 5 things we've been thinking about on a daily basis as our kids are growing up. We have 3 kids. We have a 5-month-old boy. We have almost 3-year-old girl, and my son, who's going to be 5 in November, so he's about 5.5, and he's due to start kindergarten. And we actually just this week made the decision that we're going to go forward with the homeschooling, and it's like I said, from a lot of reasons, we're going to do this, and we decided we're going to go for it. And I think the number one reason we're going to homeschool is because we want to have our kids have a Christ-centered education. We want God and Jesus Christ to be at the center of our children's education. Me and my wife did not grow up Christian. I grew up in a secular home without God. My wife grew up in a Jewish home, running out of battery, and she would go to the temple for the main holidays, but was not very religious. So that's the number one reason we're going to homeschool. And also the second reason is in the wake of these school shootings, obviously a really scary thing. If you're a parent, you think about you're releasing your children into the custody of these administrators and teachers, and into this school facility. And for me, it's weird, the reaction of a lot of people, to armed guards or arming individual teachers that choose to go through with training and licensing. When I was in high school, I was in a Chicago public school, and my school had metal detectors and Chicago police officers who were armed, and we saw them all the time, and it was a great comfort to me to see these officers there. I mean, I was on the northwest side, so it was not as bad. It's a lot worse now than it was then, but it was a great comfort to me to see these police officers patrolling. They'd patrol the park. There's a huge park where everybody was, obviously smoking cigarettes and other things and drinking and doing different stuff. So I would see these Chicago police officers present. They had their own office and everything. And, I was very, very thankful to see them. But the reaction to this violence in the schools seems to be to make a school more of a soft target, and, to make sure that no one is armed and that no one is allowed to have anything. And I mean, I think there was one school in Pennsylvania that their solution was to put a bucket of rocks in classrooms. I'm sorry, but I'm not going to release my child into the custody of a school all day if no one in that school is armed. I'm sorry, I just don't feel comfortable with that. So that's one reason that we have decided for sure to homeschool. Another is the obvious influence of like leftist ideology and almost like a Marxist kind of teaching. And I want my children to learn about American history and to love their country and to love God first, and to be an honorable, civic-minded individual. And I don't want them to be trained up to be like leftist God haters, because I mean, the way it is now is just not right. Another thing, people, when I talk to people, they always express concerns about socialization and stuff like that. And you know what? I've known a lot of homeschooled kids. We went to a church in the north side of Chicago right after we were saved. And it was the church that I was baptized at. And it was also the church that Jane was baptized at. And there was a few different homeschooled kids there that were homeschooled all the way through high school. And man, I tell you, from going to a Chicago public high school, I never knew people like that. I mean, these people were very gentle, kind, but strong-willed. thoughtful individuals, and they were going to do the right thing. And I never knew people like that, super sharp. And I think the most important thing is, as far as socialization, is to keep them in the church, to make sure that you continue going to church. And that's something that I'm not perfect with, but I have gone recently. I work weird schedules, so I did miss Sunday, but to keep them in the church programs and keep them around the other kids learning the right things. And I think that takes care of that concern. And like I said, most homeschooled kids that I've met seem to be like a lot more social and a lot more respectful and friendly, and able to hold a conversation that's a good conversation with people. So there's that. And I think another thing, I have concern about the teachers, like I was saying about the ideology and stuff like that. There's this whole school walkout thing, and I just want to say that I totally disagree with it. I hope I don't lose any friends or anybody over this, but there are some people even calling these kids walking out courageous and comparing them to civil rights marchers. And I'll just say that the when you have to think about what you compare people to before you make that comparison. And I'll just say that I am not politically correct, but I'll tell you what, these people, when they were marching for civil rights in the 60s and 70s, they were people that there would be people that were black that were just trying to move into another neighborhood to because they wanted to, because they're free to. And they were marching for that right to sit in front of the bus, to drink out of whatever water fountain they wanted to drink out of. This was some serious business. And, I'm not, like I said, I'm not politically correct, but there is a lot of truth to what was going on. And a lot of the treatment that they were endured was just brutal and dishonorable, and really just disgusting side of humanity was shown against them, to the point even where the National Guard had to be called up to let them go into different facilities to learn or do different things. And if you're going to compare blacks marching for the right to just move around freely and to go to whatever school they want to go to and to live without being harassed and treated poorly because of their race, to kids that are really being used to and having their grief literally weaponized against people like me. I mean, these regulations that these overseeing groups are pushing only affect people like me. They don't affect criminals or murderers at all. So I totally disagree with that. I think the bigger thing you could do is just focus on the victims of this violence and pray for their families, and not focus on stripping like Larry the Father of Five's basic rifle from him, or that veteran down the street. They've done nothing wrong. I've done nothing wrong. I don't own rifles or anything like that, but I think it's wrong. Like I said, my experience with homeschooled kids, especially at our church in Chicago and at the church we go to now in our neighborhood, the kids that are homeschooled, these are just the best and brightest and sweetest kids I've ever met. When I was going to high school, man, they were selling bullets in the locker room, and kids were getting beat down with locks, and it's just really ugly, and their hearts were in the wrong places. But these homeschooled kids, man, I see at church now, and I saw at the church in Chicago. These are kids. If I know there's one girl even that babysits our kids, and if my daughter grows up to be half the woman that she is, I would look at my parenting like it was just a wild success. I would be so proud if she turned out like her. So yeah, that's about it. And I appreciate y'all tuning in and everything. I'm trying to do this each week, and this is a huge decision to homeschool, and it's for sure. And we decided on it after much prayer and much thought. And I don't want anybody else to be in charge of my kids' safety, with nothing but a bucket of rocks. And I don't want anybody deciding policy in my school district where my children are supposed to be kept safe that, want to make a school more of a soft target and to let killers act with even more impunity. I think it just defies basic logic, and as a father, it's very infuriating to hear people say that they don't want teachers or guards, in schools to be armed. But anyway, this isn't much about gun control, more about homeschooling. And like I said, everybody I know that's doing this and that has done it, it's really been a wild success. Not for everybody, but I want my kids to learn with Jesus Christ at the center of their education, and to do it on our own time, and without this crazy Common Core or this stress that's going on. But I love y'all, and thanks for watching. God bless, and just do what you think is going to honor God. Keep him at the center of your life, and everything's going to flow from that. But anyway, thank you, and God bless y'all.